Hi everybody, this is my attribute shift and dynamic perception system. We're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about the strength versus dexterity states, attribute states. We're going to talk about fatigue. I'm going to show you some animations. I'm going to show you the perception system, and then we're going to look at some of the weapons and some of my plans that I have for the weapons and how they integrate into the rest of the system. So the first thing you're going to notice is visually doesn't look all that great. I just threw in some status bars for testing and just slapped a material, color material onto the player. In the final product, ideally, the status bars are not going to be here. It's going to be a minimalistic UI where there will be like an emissive material on the player that will give you all of the information you need to know. So this is just for testing purposes and to visualize what's going on. So when I click the left mouse button, it's going to put me in strength mode, and I'm going to max my strength out and decrease my dex. And then if I click the right mouse button, it's the opposite. It's going to max my dex out, decrease my strength, and then in a neutral state, they're both even. And you'll see that not only is it changing the status bars, but it's also changing the color of the material on my skeletal mesh. In the top left, you'll see this yellow bar that's increasing when I'm in a non-neutral state. That's my fatigue bar, and it increases in both states. When I'm in a neutral state, it decreases. And then if I hold this for a second and I let it max all the way out, you'll notice that it automatically puts me back in a neutral state. And you can't really tell, but I'm clicking my mouse buttons and it's not letting me out of this state until I lose all my fatigue, and then I'm able to switch back and forth between them again. So that's the foundation of my attribute shift system. We're going to come back to that in a second. What I want to talk about right now is my perception system, which doesn't really do a whole lot right now other than change the length of my spring arm. So when I scroll down on the mouse wheel, it's going to zoom me in, and this is close range perception. And then I can come back out to neutral, and then I can zoom out, and this is my long range perception. I'm thinking I might extend this out a little bit further than what it is right now. But this was just an easy length for me for testing purposes, because this is the default 300. This is half of that at 150, and then this is 450, so 1.5 times. So it's just an easy linear curve to put in for testing purposes. So, and that's really all it does right now. I don't have anything else tied to that just yet. Now I want to talk about how the attribute system affects my movement. You'll notice I haven't been walking around or anything because I want to save that, because you'll notice there's some issues right off the bat. When I start walking, I'm going to have a slide in my stance, and this happens in every direction, and that's because just the character I took this off of, he has a little bit of slower acceleration, so I need to go into the animation and trim a few frames off of this before I start, so that I can start walking as soon as I start moving, so to speak. The other thing is, I'm not too crazy about this animation, at least when I'm unarmed. I kind of look like I'm like prancing around. It makes a little more sense when I'm holding a weapon, which we'll see in a second. The character I took this from, he carries a sword and a shield, so it makes more sense because he's like got his shield out in front of him and he's got his sword at the ready. It doesn't look too great when you're unarmed, so I may just go back to using the regular mannequin animations, at least when I'm unarmed, and then switch them when I pick up a weapon. But for now, it's what I got. Speaking of weapons, I can come over here and I can hit Q to pick this weapon up, and then I can press 1 and equip it. And you'll see now it makes a little more sense because the arm's out because the sword is there. So it looks a little bit better, but still not exactly what I want. Excuse me for 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. And then we're going to come over here and pick up this second weapon. We can equip that one, and you'll see that my stance changes. Oh, I forgot to show you. With this first weapon, I've got a 3-hit attack, combo attack that I can use with that one. This weapon has an entirely different set of different 3-hit combo. And then we're going to pick this one up. And then this is my 2-handed weapon. And this one actually has a 4-hit combo with it. And so yeah, my stance changes based off of the weapon that I'm holding. I just realized I started talking about my animations, and I never went back to tell you guys about how the attribute system works. So let's talk about that for a second. You'll notice right off the bat here, when I start moving into Dex, my movement speed increases based off of my neutral, compared to my neutral speed. I'm trying to use the geometry to show it. And then when I'm in strength, it's considerably slower compared to neutral. So there's strength, neutral, dex. So my attribute state affects my movement speed. It also affects my jump height. In the normal template, you're usually able to jump up here. I increased gravity to make that for 2 reasons. A, to make this jump harder when in a neutral stance, but also, when I'm up here, the fall is a little bit faster. It's a little bit punchier, if you will, rather than the floaty jump that's normally here. But anyway, sorry. When I go into Dex mode, however, I can jump up here with a single jump. Not an issue. I can, however, in neutral mode, jump over here and then jump up here. But I need to be in Dex mode to make this jump. And then when I'm in Strength mode, I can't even jump up onto this one at all. But I can jump up from here to Strength because it doesn't really affect my, that didn't work. I've got to have somewhat of a running start. But yeah, so that's how that works. Is it affects my movement speed and my jump height. In the future, I plan on having some combat abilities that change depending on what state you're in. So the Dex mode is going to have more like mobility-based abilities, like a dodge roll or a double jump, and the Strength mode's going to have like a shoulder charge or a ground slam. It's going to have more combat-focused abilities. Plus, you're going to do more damage in Strength mode than in Dex mode, at least based, depending on the weapon. So let's go back to weapons for a second. Originally, what I wanted to do was like, this is my heavy weapon, this is my light weapon, and so I wanted to be like, okay, if I have my light weapon, I can use it in neutral mode or in Dex mode, but I can't use it in Strength mode. And then the same thing here, I can use this in Dex or Strength mode or neutral mode, but not in Dex mode. And then I kind of realized it didn't really make a lot of sense. Like, it makes sense here that, okay, I don't have any strength, so I can't use my sword, but just because I have a lot of strength doesn't mean I can't use a lightweight weapon in Strength mode. So, it didn't really flow when I started thinking about it. Instead, what I think I'm going to do is a durability system where, weapon starts with X amount of durability and then decreases over time. And like if I have my lightweight weapon, it takes less or decreases durability less when I'm in Dex mode than in one of the other modes, because theoretically in this mode I'm using the weapon properly in this mode, as opposed to if I have my strength too high, okay, the animation's the same, but there's too much force behind it, so I'm not using the weapon properly. And then same thing here, my durability is going to decrease slower in Strength mode because I'm using the weapon the way it should be used, where in Dex mode not using the weapon properly, so it's going to increase durability faster. And then this is just a standard neutral weapon that can be used with, in any mode, so that like if this weapon is starting to dissolve or whatever, decrease in strength, that you can switch to this one. You can still use it in any of the modes. It's going to be the most versatile weapon, but it's also not going to do as much damage as one of the other weapons that has an optimal mode. So I'm still trying to play around with how that part's going to work, but as far as having the core system down and having my weapon animations and stuff in place, that's all good to go. Let's talk about perception real quick again. My next step is to place some items in the world. Like I can have an item hidden over here in this corner, and so if I'm over here and I'm in my long range, so this is my neutral perception, and if I extend a long range perception, maybe I'll be able to like see it hidden over there, and then I can come over here and then move to close range perception and examine it and get some information from it before I pick it up. And then probably won't have time to implement AI, but I thought it'd be cool like if you were in close range mode and sorry about that, when somebody was like right in front of you, you'd be able to like identify their weak points or what have you, whereas out here you'd be able to like see hidden people out in the distance, but probably wouldn't be as efficient against the people right in front of you. So that's something else that I'm looking into. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. The attribute shift system, animations, and perception. Hope you like it. Thank you.